So, welcome to the Chase Expert Series. My name is Richard Dunn. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at the Atlanta Voice. And today I'm joined by Corey Mason, who is Head of Lending for Chase Bank of Georgia. How you doing today?
Outstanding, outstanding.
Good, man. Good. So let's just jump right into it, Corey, man. Can you give us a little background on yourself and what you do exactly for Chase Bank?
Okay, so I am the head of home lending for the state of Georgia. What that typically entails is leading a team of loan originators, partnering with bank branches, getting out in the community, spreading the word about all things that Chase has to offer, and really partnering with our clients as well as some of our bankers to really, again, help establish home ownership.
Gotcha. And that rolls right into my next question. What advice would you give people looking to become homeowners in the city of Atlanta and the metropolitan area?
So one of the first things that I always will say is to, and I like to call it turn on the light switch.
Okay.
And that just really means to find out where you stand financially, if you are in a position to purchase, if you're really more in an educational phase where you're looking to gather information about what's available, just really getting a good idea as to if this is the right time. And that's an interesting statement, but is it the right time? Are the I guess seasons aligning for that next step in that home ownership journey?
Gotcha. Now, purchasing a home is a big undertaking, probably very scary for those who have never done it before. So, any advice to first-time home buyers?
Well, and again, I think it's back to turning on that light switch. It's just really understanding what lenders look for when you're looking to qualify for your first loan. That's usually the scary part. And I always like to break it up into three categories, which is stability, ability, and willingness. And so on the stability side, it's just, what does your job, employment look like? Have you been in your job for a significant period of time, or are you in the same industry? From an ability standpoint, that's more of an income conversation. Can you afford to make that payment on a mortgage versus rent? And then willingness is really more around the credit piece. So if you have a good understanding of those three things, then that puts you in a better position to have confidence moving forward in the process. I think it's really important to understand that, it is scary, but sometimes it's really scary just from lack of having the information. So it's important to really do your research up front so that you can kind of understand, the terminology, because we tend to speak in acronyms in our industry, and just to really get an understanding of what's possible. And if it's today, then great. If it's not today, then really putting together that solid plan to move forward.
Gotcha. Now, everybody knows that, home ownership or buying a home in today's market, and that is high, it's expensive, and it seems like, interest rates are climbing, and, the price for housing is just going up in general, man. What could you tell people that are looking to make that decision, comparing purchasing a home versus renting a home in today's climate?
When I get a question like that, I think the time is always now to own real estate. The rates, are higher than where they have been, I guess, maybe in the last few years. But historically, they are in line with, what rates were, over a long period of time. So even though rates are not in the twos and threes, they are consistent with where they've been if you look at the long-term strategy. But it is more difficult from an affordability standpoint, which is why you want to make sure that you understand how to maneuver. And so when we talk about affordability, what is out there for you? Is it something that you can use to buy down the rate to below market? Is it down payment assistance? Is it, additional down payment from different sources? So all those things come together to hopefully improve the affordability piece. It is different. 4 years ago, house prices were at a certain point and rates were definitely lower, but I still believe that it is still a great time to purchase real estate, especially for your primary residence. There are tax incentives and benefits to doing that. And then the other piece is really just around, if you buy today, chances are high that, and it's not guaranteed, but chances are high that you're going to be building equity in the long term. So it's a long-term strategy. And then lastly, if you think about what you're paying in rent, because most people are renting if you're not owning,
Right.
and that rate on rent is much higher than it would be on a mortgage. And I always ask the question, what's the rate on your rent that you're paying? It's 100%, because 100% of that payment's going to someone else.
Gotcha.
So, I think there is a benefit definitely to owning.
Gotcha. I like that with that rate. I've never heard that when it came to rent. It's 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely are purchasing someone else's property for them, man. How does home ownership impact community development? And you know, can you speak on that and why it's important to purchase and plant yourself in the community?
Well, I think the word that you used last was community. So when you talk about home ownership, you're talking about, as an owner, you have a vested interest in improving the community. Not to say that when you rent, you don't appreciate where you live and where your surroundings, but when you're putting money into something that you own, that responsibility is going to be a little bit different. I think that, again, the community piece is, for me, the driver of creating a community of homeowners. And then the last piece around that is because it creates wealth. Then now all of a sudden you are building neighborhoods and communities and businesses around those communities. So the home process is pretty much the starting point for everything else that's connected to it. And I like to think about, when we talked about what's happening in housing, and you see that people are starting to buy homes, all of a sudden the hardware store around the corner is doing a little bit better. The restaurant across the street is doing a little bit better. So there's an impact, for pretty much everything within community based on being a homeowner.
Gotcha. Can you shed some light on some of the steps Chase is taking to make sure people are able to become homeowners here in Atlanta?
So we talked about affordability, and one of the largest things that we did in 2020 actually was we committed a $30 billion, I almost said million. It's $30 billion commitment
With a B.
With a B, and that was to improve the racial equity commitment, and it's around, yes, home ownership, but it's around making sure that we have representation as a company in all layers, whether it's in management or if it's boots on the ground. It's just really making sure that we're speaking to the communities at which we serve. So that's a big number, but how does that really trickle down? And one of the things that we did as part of that commitment is we put together a homebuyer grant.
Okay.
And I use the word grant, and sometimes people assume that it's down payment assistance, which is not a bad thing. But a grant is just that. It's Chase's money that we are really looking to find ways to help those to either qualify or to afford or more of a home. But the bigger piece of that is it started off at $2,500. As of today, it's $7,500.
Wow.
So a $7,500 incentive to help homeowners to purchase is pretty significant.
It is.
And you can use that grant to buy down the interest rate. So we talked about rates and how high they are. You can buy down that rate now to below market, or you can use that to offset closing costs, or you can use it towards down payment. So, I think that's one of the biggest things that we've been able to do. And we do that in communities that what we call our majority minority, because we want to make sure that you don't see Chase and only assume that we are working in certain pockets. We really want to make sure that we're lending in every particular metropolitan area that we can, so that we can help improve home ownership. Because home ownership, again, is an entry point to other relationships within the firm. And I think that we have other value that we bring in addition to the home ownership piece, more towards financial literacy. And so that's a passion of mine, making sure that people understand that although prices may be a little high now, rates may be a little bit higher now, there are some tools that you can use, i.e. the grant, to offset that, to make that home more affordable for you now versus waiting 6 to 12 months. Because 6 to 12 months or 24 months, it doesn't necessarily mean that the rates are going to go down.
Right.
We can't assume that the prices are going to go down. So what can we do differently? And I think this is a great tool to use for that.
Got you. Do you mind drilling down just a little bit?
Sure,
Can we get into maybe some specific communities that Chase, you and Chase together have been really vested in, be it from a programming perspective or where you've seen the deployment of the grants really have an impact?
Well, I think maybe the first example that I'll give to that is the Summer Hill community. We have a community branch in Summer Hill. And when we say community branch, I mean it is literally open to the community, to community business, really helping to impact establishing or maintaining businesses right across the street from, I guess, what used to be the baseball stadium, now it's Georgia State.
Yeah, the old Turner Field.
Old Turner Field, thank you very much. But that's a community where, not only did we put a community branch there from a banking standpoint, but we also partnered with a developer, which was Summer Hill Community, and we were the preferred lender for that development as well.
Okay.
Just so happens that property or those properties were all eligible for the grant. So now you've got a banking center in a specific community. You've got grant eligible properties within that same community, and you're able to really see the impact of doing business, but not only doing business, but helping to establish relationship. Normally, we don't necessarily look at like specific pockets. We're going to do this for this area, but that is a success story, in my opinion, because we were able to bring the banking side and the lending side together,
Gotcha.
and then we were able to kind of really review what does success look like. Are people coming into the branches? Are people using our spaces to work, because those are options in the community branch as well? Are they holding homebuyer seminars in the branches, which is something that we do also? So that space is a beacon in this particular market.
Yeah.
We have community branches kind of in different locations, but that's probably one of the better, larger facilities that we have, that not only can we do banking, but we can also do events there as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, and as a native of Atlanta, I must say kudos to you guys, man. Summer Hill is amazing now.
Yeah.
And it is
Yeah.
definitely a cool place to work, to have recreation, and got a grocery store now. It used to be a food
There's
desert.
a hot dog store next door. It's
Yeah,
somewhere over there.
yeah. It's nice.
Yes, yes, yes.
It is nice, man. So like, can we give people some insight on kind of how to get their ducks in a row? Like, what should people have prepared before they come meet with someone like you or people on your team? How
So,
do they prepare for home ownership?
So I would, again, and I'm going to use Chase resources here. So, we have, a system called Credit Journey with Chase, and you can use Chase My Home and get additional resources. And Chase My Home is a platform that, you can use payment calculators and just kind of play around and see, what could home ownership look like. But Credit Journey is a way to review your credit, a way to kind of look at things that might improve your scores, give you some suggestions. And so I think that, again, just kind of knowing a general place as to where you stand from a financial standpoint gives you the ability to ask the right questions. Okay. But the other piece is just working with a dedicated professional. And so when you come to Chase, because you know that we have a brand that's important to us, and we want to make sure that we're doing the right things for our clients, then you're working with a reputable company. And so we take all comers. If you've bought several homes, great. We have a program, a conversation for that. If this is your first time having a home ownership conversation, we have the conversation for that as well. So we're not only looking for clients that have done this several times, but we try to put enough resources out there, whether, again, it's Credit Journey or Chase My Home or the affordability calculators or, all the other tools that we have. It would not be for lack of information that you don't move forward. Okay. It would really be more of just maybe this is not the time, or maybe you want to put yourself in a slightly different position. But we want to make sure that all the resources that we carry within our logo, we want to expose you to them. And so I think it's really just creating the relationship. And so it's not about just, that's my bank. These are your people. These are my people. They're going to help me get from A to Z. And you're going to have those conversations so that you can really be more informed.
Gotcha. So Corey, man, any final thoughts on anything you want to share with people that will get them inspired or encourage them to go out and become a homeowner?
Well, I would just, want to do my best to remove the word fear from the conversation. Okay. If you're currently renting and you make an attempt, and for whatever reason it didn't work out, you're still renting. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you've lost. But I think in more chances than many, you probably are better off than you think. I think, again, really identifying where you are, whether it's in the credit standpoint or not, just understanding where you are can help you put a plan together. And so you have to take that initial step. I really believe that we want to be the partner to kind of help you do that. We don't want to wait until you figured it all out and then say, okay, here we are. We want to really make sure that we're part of the conversation on the front end. So just, again, if you did nothing else but to figure out where you are from a credit and financial standpoint, I think that is a step in the right direction. That's the first step you should take.
Gotcha. So those of you who are listening and have any concerns, Corey is saying he and his team will hold your hand through the process, and don't worry about the bumps in the road. He's going to take his time and help you get over the humps, man. So Corey, we appreciate you coming out today,
Absolutely.
man. Any other things you want to say before we go?
Well, I tell you, you've inspired me, man. You trigger so many different things in my head with that last comment. But I just always like to impress upon people that listen, bad things happen to good people.
Absolutely.
And so don't just assume because, again, credit income is not where you would like for it to be, that you don't deserve home ownership. We all deserve to have a piece of ownership in something. I really believe it's what helps us to create generational wealth. And so when we talk about financial literacy and legacy, all those things are really tied together when you have something that you can call your own and that you can pass down to the next generation. So again, start, take a look at where you are, turn on that switch, and really make sure that you understand what's possible and what your timeline is, and really work with a professional to help get you to that next phase.
And one more question, another question, just thought that I had, Corey, just now, man. In opening up the doors to home ownership, how can people be involved in the process? Meaning, like, the job opportunities or the ways that people can come get involved with Chase or work with you guys to just learn real estate as a whole and even spread the cause even more, man.
So, early on, I mentioned a $30 billion commitment. And part of that, again, is to make sure that we have representation in all facets of the organization. And so in the home lending space, we are growing. We're looking to add talent. We've got, opportunities in several markets throughout the state of Georgia. And, I would just say that, we are eager to work with those that have the skill set to really be an impact in the communities in which we serve. So, we typically look for those that have experience in lending. But again, we've got several different entry points. So I always think it's a great idea to at least start a conversation, ask some questions. And, as we continue to build and grow in Georgia, I do think that we'll continue to have additional opportunity.
So, Corey, thank you. Thank you for all the words of wisdom and insight and encouragement. I hope those who hear this message are inspired and, take that leap of faith and take that first step towards home ownership. Before we get all the way out of here, Corey, man, how can people find you? What's the best way to contact you or your team so that they can get going in the home ownership journey?
So I'm gonna coin a phrase someone mentioned to me yesterday. I'm gonna skip you to the front of the line.
All right.
So I'm gonna give my email address,
Okay.
and that would connect to me, and then I would of course connect to my team, because I cover the state of Georgia. So email's probably going to be best, and that is Corey COREY .MASON @chase.com. So that is a great way to, if you have questions, I'd love to connect you with a member of my team to kind of get that process started and to help turn on that light.
That'll work. Thank you, Corey.
Absolutely.
All right.